This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here are your hosts, Ryan Alford and Chris Hanson.
Hello, and welcome to Vibe Science. I'm Ryan Alford, your co-host, joined by my good friend and partner in High Vibes, Chris Hanson. What's up, Chris? How's today?
Hey, we're rock and rolling, baby. I'm happy to be here, and I'm stoked for our convo today.
I am too, man. You know, Chris brings all the guests. Like he's, you know, we'll share stories. I'm like, what do you think about this woman? What do you think about this guy? And you know what? He had me at Thor. Thor Torrens. He is the founder of One of Ones. He's a health coach. He's an Emmy Award winner and the former special assistant to the President Trump. What's up, Thor? Welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man. Anytime Thor wants to come on Vibe Science, Thor gets to come on Vibe Science.
Cool. Let's make it a thing.
I know. No, man. I kid a little bit. I do love the name. I'm kind of a Thor guy anyway. Like something badass about Thor. You know, I don't get into all the characters and all that shit. But, you know, what do you like about a chiseled guy that just doesn't take any shit? You know, so I don't know. And then I looked at you. Chris showed me your stuff, and I'm like, this is fucking Thor in real life. Love it, man. Love your energy. Got a great vibe. Let's set the table for everyone. Who the hell is Thor Torrens?
Yeah, man. So right now I'm the founder of One on One's community. We're aiming to be the number one wellness community in the world. I grew up in New York. I was born in New York City, actually in Harlem in the 1980s, 1984. And my mom was a teacher. My dad was actually a tour manager for some rock stars, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eddie Money. That's how my parents met. And then moved up from Manhattan as a elementary school into Rockland County, New York, to the suburbs, and was a big sports guy, baseball. And I was also into art and always into health, always into nutrition, always into working out. I think I hate the term biohacker, but I was like figuring out things before that was even a term, trying everything and anything. And then played some college baseball, Rockland Community College, and then played some men's leagues and played on a Japanese team. And then one summer when I was in between, deciding, do I go to college and keep on the dream, so to speak, of playing professional sports, I got offered a job in TV and film and entertainment through an art director, actually. His name was Don O'Reilly. Shout out to Don O'Reilly. And my first job, he said, he called me and he goes, what are you doing tomorrow? It was the summertime, I think 2004. And I was like, I got this summer school class. I had failed math, and it was the only thing keeping me from getting my associate's degree. And he goes, that's too bad. I wanted you to come on a secret job with me. And I was like, no. I was like, I don't have math class. I was like, where do you want to meet? And he goes, meet me at the corner of Houston and Broadway at 8 a.m. And I show up there, and I'm like, so what are we doing? And he's like, we're painting Kanye West's apartment. And I was like, cool. And this was probably
random.
college, really random. And then I started working on all these music videos with him and like on sets of commercials. And like, I really just never went back to school. And then he got a union job, I think at Law and Order, and I wasn't invited. So I was kind of like, oh crap, what do I do now? And found this job through my friend Garrett Cordero, who I grew up with. He worked at NBA TV, National Basketball League, as a teleprompter operator. So he brought me on set, on a tour. And the lady was like, oh, do you do this too? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I do this. And he was like, what are you doing, man? I was like, I could definitely do this. And then he actually ended up, oddly enough, he got thrown off the show he was on, Tuesdays with Ahmad Rashad. And they called me up. They go, can you do next Tuesday with Ahmad? And I was like, yeah, definitely. Put me in. And he's like, he's like, what are you doing, man? He's like, this is live TV. I was like, yeah, I'll just figure it out, man. I have nothing to lose. I'm like kind of hanging out too much, doing the wrong thing. Put me in there. And went in the Sunday before, this was back in the day when we could still get away with stuff like this. I just sat in the back of the room, shadowed him, watched him. He let me do like one of the late night fantasy shows that kind of no one watched. And then went in there, did a good job. And then they were like, all right, you can do it every day, every Tuesday, and we'll give you a Saturday. So I was like, I don't know, 25 or something. I was 23 at the time. And now I'm like, it was the perfect hours. It was like 4 p.m. to like 2 a.m. And I was with all these ex-NBA stars and all these I'm in the TV world, and I got hooked. And then they moved to Atlanta. And once again, I didn't get invited to Atlanta. So now I'm stuck again with nothing to do. And someone I made friends with at NBA TV, my friend Rich, he goes, my roommate works for a teleprompting company in New York City. Like, you're awesome. Let me introduce you. Went for an interview. It just turned out the owners, Chris O'Brien and James O'Brien, two awesome Irish brothers from the Bronx, New York. They actually lived a town down from me. And my mom was actually a teacher at their son's school. And he was like, all right, you're hired. And first job was at Madison Square Garden, working on all the sports shows. And then they basically had every client in the game in New York. So CEOs, celebrities, networks, banks, all the big events, you name it, I was just thrown in the mix. Like, and who uses a teleprompter? Like all the most important people in the world. And like, I was already kind of used to that room. I was already comfortable in those rooms, really just since a baby, being in New York City and my dad working with celebrities too, that it was just like a natural fit. And this teleprompting niche is like a weird niche of like half tech, half you have to be like a people person. And it's kind of rare that someone can like really hone into both. So naturally I was like, it's funny. One of the owners was like, we don't get it. People either only want to work with you or they never want to see you again. And I was like, yeah, the people who never want to see me again are assholes. Like the people who request me by name, like, are great to work with. Like, let's go.
I love that shit.
I'm
but
sure
I'll tell you what, I'm going to pause 1 second, Thor, before you pick that back up. People ask, and Chris and I have, had successful ventures and, done fairly well. There's no destination for success, but you get asked, what does it take to be successful? Being resourceful. Like, I made my career on saying yes to shit that I had no fucking idea how to do. And, like that, this isn't necessarily a motivation for success show, but let me just tell you, if you're listening, what Thor just described, his ability to see that opportunity and go, yeah, I can do that. And then learning in 2 days, and just what's the worst that would have happened? He falls on his face and it doesn't happen, but you know what? He didn't. And so I love that attribute, man. I love it.
Yep. That's what it's all about. It's being comfortable in your own skin. It's being confident. You don't necessarily have to fake it till you make it, but like The Art of Learning, I remember that was a good book I read, and really putting your back against the wall where you kind of have no choice. And I think a lot of us get comfortable in our laurels, especially as you kind of rise, and you kind of almost got to give yourself like a reason or even if you don't have one, put a chip on your shoulder. And like, no matter what I'm doing, I always find a reason to like kind of get pissed or motivated or chip on the shoulder, like to the point where even when I was in these rooms and working on these big events and these sets, and like everybody was like looking from the outside saying, this is amazing, you're working on the Victoria's Secret show or you're at the MTV Video Awards, I was still pissed because I was the teleprompter guy at that stuff. Like it still was, I still was like, I have more potential. Yeah, I'm there and that looks cool, but like, I'm still like the help kind of. So I would like psych myself into that mode too.
I love
and
that.
And even producers or directors sometimes would be like, oh, are you the talent? And I'll be like, yeah, but not today, like,
hell yeah, bro.
I like that. I like
You
that.
know what I mean?
It is
Yeah.
interesting too, like Thor, like
That's the energy right there.
yeah, the energy. But I think like it's interesting. You said it, you know, you got the bug or whatever. Working around television and sports and stars, like it's for me, and I did a lot of that in my 20s, like with what I was doing. And it was less like so enamored with the stars, but there's just this fucking energy in live entertainment and like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. I feel like that's a little bit of what you're kind of saying, like you caught the bug, like not necessarily because you were, you know, Mr. Cool rubbing shoulders with an athlete, but more just the energy of that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're describing?
Yeah. No, for sure. And, you know, even as like a young boy, 11, 12 years old in Little League, like I always wanted the ball. I wanted to be the pitcher. If I wasn't the pitcher, I was the catcher. If I wasn't the catcher, I wanted to be the pressure moment, because that's kind of where I thrived and felt the best. I don't know if I was born that way. I don't know what caused that, but same deal where like when the lights go on, when the popcorn starts popping, it gives you a rush, you know, and you see what you're made of. And it's that inner voice of like, hey, you know, we're all the same out here, and like putting no one else on a pedestal. And if they give you the microphone, like take it away. You know what I mean?
100%. So where did we go from teleprompter fame to what was next on the hit list?
Yeah. So July 2016, you know, I've been an employee for this company and in VIP prompting. And in the process, I was always had my entrepreneur hat on too. And when I was in these rooms, a lot of, whether they were an executive producer, whether they were entrepreneur, celebrity, athlete, they always had other stuff going on, like whether it was real estate or forming their own companies. So I started to kind of see like, okay, you know, obviously there's a ceiling here. Obviously, like I can get a raise every year. This is cool. I have health benefits, but I knew there was something more. So I started to dabble in that whole world. And one of the first things I did, probably 2012, I started a juicing website, juicing fruits and vegetables, actually. It was called Juicing for Women. And the reason I started juicing for women is because I saw juicingformen.com was taken. And then I typed in juicing for women, and I was like, wow, like there's a juicing for men, but not a juicing for women. This is sexist. So a random dude in his 20s decided so I bought juicingforwomen.com. I'd already been buying domains. It was like this, you know, annoying habit where I had these grandmaster ideas. A lot of entrepreneurs do this.
I've been there.
Yeah. Yep.
I actually started deleting all my domains recently where I would renew them, because I'm looking at it now like that was your old dumb habit where you never followed through on these things, and like just get rid of them now.
I need to do that.
I would start, it was almost like starting a band, you know, a band name. So I started juicingforwomen.com, built the little website, built the Facebook page. And this was before this was when the algorithm was an organic algorithm. And I grew that thing to like a 6-figure following pretty fast, just on some free lead gen of like recipes. And I grew an email list to like 10,000 women. And now I'm just doing the fruits and vegetables and the juicing. And like I was using my daughter's name as the founder, like Valentina. it was like an anonymous founder. And then I just started getting all these emails of people who were like really in bad shape. You know, hey, I got this problem. What do I do here? Hey, I got that problem. What do I do here? So I kind of did a FAQ, you know, not an automated response, but once I typed out the answer for one, I put it in a folder and I would just copy and paste. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't know how much I believe in this juicing. The more I researched it, the less I was like, I don't know if I truly believe in this. B, I'm like, I don't have my face showing, you know, it's kind of like I'm an anonymous person. And C, it wasn't bringing me joy to just be answering these people's emails all day. And I got so busy with teleprompting, playing baseball, had our first child, that it started to bog me down, and it just wasn't bringing me joy. And I didn't really know how to leverage this list. I was kind of making like not enough money to have a list. And then Facebook, I woke up one day and my posts, instead of getting thousands of engagement, it would get like 5 likes. And I just got pissed. I was like, F this is fixed. I got 100K followers that have admitted they like me, but now I got to pay money for them to see my content. So instead of figuring that whole thing out and pivoting, I was a little bit more immature with it. I kind of just sold it. So I sold it for a couple grand, to some guy in the UK. He changed the name to like Juice Fit or something. And then I kind of went on my way back into the teleprompting mix, and then started doing the whole, 2017 came around, started doing the whole Airbnb arbitrage game, doing that game with a few guys, learned some important lessons that way. But rewind a year, July 2016 is when a lot of things changed. The Trump campaign reached out to us and said, hey, we're looking for some teleprompter operators. And I think they had tried maybe 1 or 2 that they didn't like too much. So they called us. One of my colleagues and good friends went first, locked it down, did an incredible job. And then they brought me in as like the number 2 guy. And there's like a whole other story from that whole thing. But basically what happened is I started going out every day during that campaign before he won the presidency. I was just at every rally, all of a sudden as the teleprompter operator, working all those rallies, getting to see history. He ends up winning. It was like being on a rock tour with like a superstar, like Elvis or somebody. I'd never seen it before, where I'll never forget, we were pulling up these airport hangars, thousands of people, music blasting, and like his plane shows up and he gets off his plane to everybody cheering. And I'm like sitting there like, this has never happened. Like, no one's ever done this. No one's ever flown their plane to a crowd, got off, gave a speech. So it was like, I really got to experience that firsthand. It was just incredible.
That's awesome, man. I mean,
yeah,
it's one of those things like you said, like the energy and getting to do it. Like people might hear that and go, would you sign up for that? Knowing, okay, is it temporary or how long is it going to last? But like, I don't know, man, like the energy and buzz, and we can even keep politics out of it. I mean, I think, if you listen to enough of our shit, you might know where we lean, but at the same time, I don't give a shit about your politics. It's more the life experience, the doing it and being around that moment in history. That's been incredible.
Yeah. No, it was. I got to see a lot of things. I had already seen things working in New York City at all the different networks that I was kind of not too comfortable with or happy about, or that just made me realize, like, a lot of this stuff is fabricated or fake news, as the famous quote goes. But, I'll give you a prime example. He did a speech in Charlotte before he became president. Amazing speech at like an inner city black church. All the leaders giving him hugs, giving him daps. He's sitting there at a round table talking about all these amazing ways to bring money and opportunity and entrepreneurs into the black community. And I'm sitting there, I have so many black friends back at home that I grew up with, like best friends that were already, some of them were like, hey, we're proud of you. Other of them were like, yo, what are you fucking doing? But I'm sitting there and I'm like, if only people could see this right now, if only people could see this could change everything. And I get back to my hotel room and I turn on the TV and CNN is the default channel. And the headline reads, Trump denounces blacks. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's the exact opposite of what I just saw. And I'm like, this guy has no chance with the public opinion if they're going to lie like that. And that was just like a little example of like, and this goes with all the niches, health, wealth, love. People see one thing on the surface. We've really become like the skip the terms and conditions generation. It's like, go to the bottom, hit it. Oh, that's what it says. All right, accept. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
And so
And
there was a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, the spin machine is real. And I don't know how people fall for it. And it can go both ways. I think a lot of it, unfortunately, seems to, I don't know, go the direction we're talking about, especially with President Trump. And he hasn't helped himself at times, but it is absurd just the way media can take anything and spin it, whatever they want. It's just,
yeah. You know how it is, man. We talk for an hour. Someone could take 30 seconds here and there. They could either make us look like an awesome human, or they could make us look like a total asshole loser.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
You got a good editor and you got a good soundtrack, and anyone's life can look good,
Yeah, exactly. And, but I mean, it's kind of the point of this show is we're trying to raise people's awareness of all sides. Everybody's got to make personal decisions, has personal beliefs on their health and wellness, but there's a lot of spin and a lot of money supporting, the pharmaceutical industry and a lot of other things that can cloud some of the realities of a lot of this space, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, listen, a lot of what I do on X is I leave breadcrumbs and I'll say some really outlandish statement that has a lot of truth to it. And a lot of the reply guys will be like, source, and it's like, and in my head, I'm like, well, I already did the hours researching this. I know what I'm saying is true, but let them try to figure it out. And then later on, I'll come with a source. But also, some of these things there really isn't valid sources for, because science pays people to do research on what their biases are. So if I want to do research on vitamin D3 because I'm selling vitamin D3 and I've invested in it, I'm going to pay the scientists to show us why that is a good thing. And if those scientists don't show why it's a good thing, they're not getting paid. They're not getting incentivized, right? And with a subject just like vitamin D3, for example, there's no one like, yo, here's $1 million to show everyone why this is bad for you. Right. So all these companies can now not make money selling it to you. Right?
Well, wait a second, Thor. It's third-party lab tested. Of course it's fine.
I just had someone reply with that today. They're like, they go, look, it's third-party tested. I go, great. Where's the test?
Right. Have you seen
it? Yeah. Like, just because they say it is awesome, but let's see the results.
Yeah.
And this was just something on like a collagen powder, which has become a really big thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, with something as important as our health, with all these niches, health, especially wealth, it's like, who's accounting for you, right? You get, for your wealth, most guys get a really good accountant with a really good track record, right? And if you don't, and you don't know what you're doing, you could really get wrecked and lose your money. With health, it's the same thing of like, who's your accountant? Well, most people don't have a health accountant accounting for what they're doing. And what they're really doing is just following any Tom, Dick, and Harry online and just playing guessing games with their health. This month I'll try this supplement. Next month I'll try that supplement. And when you look at this, if you're not going to hire an accountant, you got to see who you're following. What's success leaves clues, winners leave breadcrumbs. And then B, it's like, okay, you want to be your own health accountant, go into every single thing you're going to put into your body and pretend you are in high school or college and you're in a debate class and you've now been given the assignment to find out why that thing is bad for you, right? And because we know in debate, it's like, you can give a good debate on both sides of most topics. Now, and this is a good quote from Naval, where Naval says, like, if it's an I don't know, it's a no, right? So most people are going into these combos of like, oh, I don't know. They're just skipping the terms and conditions. An influencer, a guru says this is the new superfood. They are already in pain or have some symptoms. They just click buy now. They start taking it. They have no idea what's going on. Now, if you take your health seriously, which I think most of us do, and what led me to really taking this even more serious is, hey, let me find out why this would not be good for me. And when you start to do the work and the heavy lifting of why this would not be good for me, it gets really dark and scary and dangerous fast. And then it goes to like, oh, well, you're fear mongering and you're scared. It's like, nah, it's like, I'm just conscious now of these potential toxins and poisons. And then when you add everything up and look at the history, and then look at our society is more sick, fat, and depressed than ever. And then you look to like our grandparents who like didn't take any supplements, didn't do anything, or their parents, you know, it's like, oh, why did grandpa have testosterone 5 to 10 times higher than his grandson? He grew up in a different environment, not doing half of these new things, you know? So what I like to do right away is like, what are all these new things? What's different now, right? And that's why we were having a lot of success with helping people. That's how I had success helping myself, of like, just less is more. You know, just when we talk about the liver is our commander in chief. It's our master governor. It's our filter, right? So the more things you put in your body, the more things your liver has to do. It's like your filter in your kitchen sink. You know, if you're putting distilled or reverse osmosis water through that filter is going to have a way longer life and a way easier job. If you start putting hard water and 300 parts per million water with a bunch of sediments in there and a bunch of different chemicals, that filter is going to go quick. You know, and our liver, the human body is just an amazing miracle machine, and it's a system just like a plumbing system or a car, and it's the same concept. And when you start to see how our plumbing system and our pipes work, you can start to figure a lot out.
What's up, guys? Ryan and Chris here. I want to talk to you about Apollo, our official partnership with the wearable. And look, we talk about it all the time. The research is out, guys. There's no hiding. Sleep is one of the most important things to your overall health and wellness, and that's why we love what we're seeing from Apollo. I'm using it. Chris has been an advocate for over 3 years. Talk about it, Chris. I know it's been helping with your sleep.
Yeah, man, I'm super stoked. The Apollo wearable device, I've been using this for 3 years. Anyone that knows me knows it's on my ankle or wrist all the time, including in my bed, which may seem a little odd that I sleep with this, but they've got all these different modes. Sleep mode kind of eases your body, eases your mind in that relaxed state. It helps you kind of calm that nervous system where you're hacking your brain in a way. But I'll tell you what, you can even set it on a schedule where it'll ease you into sleep. Then you can set it 6 a.m., 7 a.m. It'll gently wake you up. All of a sudden it's vibrating faster. It's pulsing faster. It's sending this frequency through your body, alerting your nervous system, time to wake up. So tons of uses. You can set it where it's easy to work for you. Set your schedule through the day, energy, social, sleep, calm, meditate, anything you want. There's a different mode for.
Look, ApolloNeuro.com, 15% off. Use Vibe Science, VIBE Science. This is a great deal with a great partner that's leading innovations. You won't believe the data. You won't believe the results, just like Chris. We'll see you soon. I think we've built to it the inspiration of one of ones, like I think I've been building it in my head with you talking, kind of getting there my own myself, but let's give put some dots around that, draw the line there.
Yeah. So one of ones is my wellness community on school. And basically, ever since a college ball player, even high school, I was kind of always like the nutrition bro, the fitness bro, the always the advice guy. People would kind of see me doing good or see something and they would ask me for advice. And I always had the advice. And I was always kind of the first to market. Like I was one of the first people to go gluten-free in my network of people. Like my best friend's mom is like, you were talking about gluten before anyone. And it was because I always craved knowledge and I always was trying to figure things out. So in 2004, I did the no gluten diet for 30 days and completely fixed my heartburn and itchy skin. So I thought I figured something out, and I kind of did, but I still didn't have the big piece of the puzzle. And then when I came home from the White House, didn't have my job, was doing odds and ends entrepreneurially. And I decided to start doing the health coaching more and started like a private chat on WhatsApp, which just where I was just getting guys in a chat. And we were, it was a monthly thing, monthly subscription, really like unofficial. And it was just fitness, nutrition, meal plans, diet, and stuff like that. And then more recently, January 1st of this year, I decided what I kind of do every year is I'll try like a 30-day challenge to bang out the year, start off the year. And this year was no caffeine. I was going to do no caffeine, no coffee for 30 days. And because I'm a maniac, I started going on YouTube, like finding reasons why coffee was bad for me to make it more easy for me to do it, because I got pretty addicted to coffee. And even though I haven't had coffee in like over 30 days now, I think it's the only thing I've ever been addicted to. So I started finding all these reasons to not like it. And then to be a real certified a-hole, I started posting the reasons publicly, getting everyone mad.
You instigator.
Yeah, it's like the thing everybody loves and is online for every morning. Like, yeah, that is trash. And here's why. And it really hits some cognitive dissonance because it's real talk. Like caffeine is a neurotoxin and we are likely abusing it way too much. And it is in a lot of ways doing more harm than good, but we love it and we're addicted to it. And it boosts adrenaline and epinephrine and norepinephrine. So it's like, it's a very hard conversation and it's a safe addiction, right? It's not crack. It's not coke. It's not cigarettes. They've in fact made it healthy, right? Oh, this is healthy for me. So to get back to one-on-ones, I kind of, as this like fitness bro, nutrition bro, always giving advice, even like you're out and about, you go out in the city for a night and like people are asking, or I went to a conference because I'm also into cryptocurrency and I'm a member of the Zcash advisory panel. Went to the conference in Vegas and a few people like hit me up after in the DM and were like, dude, you look amazing. Like, what's your secret? Right. So those conversations came up a lot of like, how old are you? Like, oh, you're going to be 40 and like, oh, like your testosterone's high and I'm 25 and my testosterone's way low. Like, what do you do? So I kept seeing online of just horrible advice, big accounts giving really bad advice. And I knew it was bad advice because I had tried it and got wrecked from it, and I knew it was bad advice because not only did I get wrecked from it, like I then looked into why that happened. And the thing is, guys, like there's a lot of young cats, 20s, who are able to get away with a lot of these behaviors and they have a honeymoon period and their liver's still storing it. It's just like a hangover, right? Oh, in my 20s, I didn't get a hangover, but now I can't even drink like I used to. Same deal with nutrition and other stuff with our liver. So I started to see like, wow, there's a huge void in the market here. And there's also, it's a fad. What do I mean by it's a fad? One guy comes out selling liver, which I totally disagree with. And then 3 or 4 other guys are coming out. And you got the small time liver guy. And then like, it's like, I was seeing the same thing with Airbnb, the same thing with all these stupid fads. And it's like, guys, health is not a fad, right? There's a few things that work that are tried and true. And like our body system is not changing. But what is changing is every month there's a new thing. And then I started seeing these anti-aging gurus like Brian Johnson or, Dave Asprey's not that bad. But the other guy, forget his name, that not only like I'll give you an example with Brian Johnson. The guy was a tech millionaire, made a bunch of money off of tech. And then like he wakes up one day and he's like, I'm going to take advantage of this anti-aging space. And then he comes on the TV and he's like, I spend $1 million to $2 million on my health and I take 150 pills a day. And here's my blueprint. And like, you guys should just click these affiliate links and take all these pills too. And that was kind of when I had the breaking point of like, yo, enough's enough. Like so many people are giving trash advice and it's the blind leading the blind, and people are out here getting wrecked. And then like, if you listen to a guy's advice like that, you're not like under his wing. Once you get wrecked, you're just left on your own, right? So these people are getting left worse than they were found. So I'm like, all right, let's start. Like, I had seen this because I'm always in the entrepreneur niche as well. I had been watching the My First Million podcast a lot, and a few other podcasts with entrepreneurs. And I saw that this guy, I don't know what his name was, something Adonis, I forget his name, had a big school community, and he was doing like 100K a month or something. And, you know, we always see these clickbaity things of like how to make 100K a month on this. So I kept in the back of my mind, I was like, this school community thing sounds cool. And like, I just have people in a WhatsApp chat. So I signed up one day and I was like, you know what? F this, I'm signing up. One of Ones was the name of my thing on WhatsApp because I was always being called like 1 in a million or unique or a weirdo or like how to not be an NPC. And I was like, all right, we can take like everything I'm doing with success, everything I'm doing that I'm recommending to people, whether it's a friend of mine who is a professional athlete, whether it's a friend of mine who was like an actor or actress, whether it was a friend of mine who was a CEO. Like I had started being like a health and wellness advisor for some pretty successful people, just unofficially, of like me being their friend and in group chats with them and them kind of always leaning on me. So I was like, you know what? Throw this imposter syndrome thing out the window, where I had a little bit of like that doubt, like, oh, you're not certified. Oh, you're not this. Oh, you're not that. People would tell me like, yo, you need to do this for real and you need to scale this. And I was like, you know what? Let's go. Started now on Twitter, when I went hard on X, it's like, all right, now I'm just going to post this school link underneath all of my posts and kind of just see what happens. And like right away, people started signing. And I was like, you know what? Let me put it at $10 a month because like I'm not really established yet. And like everyone can kind of afford it. And I know if I get people in there, it's just going to be a matter of time before like the success stories start popping up. And that's kind of what happened. And now we're at 492 members in 3 months and like success stories left and right. And now it's like everyone, that was another thing that was happening to me too. It's like people are even on the Instagram health posts, people are always in the comments arguing about what's the best diet, what's the best supplement. Oh, take this supplement with that supplement. Oh no, you need to do it like this. And like I had found myself in a few of those debates in the comment section, and I was like, you know what, this is stupid. Like, let me just do this and scale this to thousands of humans, and that's the way to prove what's best. And guess what? It's still not might be what's good for you, right? And that's another thing I'm a big proponent of is like, we don't have like a protocol or like a one size fits all. It's like, hey, let me talk to you and work with you and figure out how we can customize it and dial it in for you. And I'm a big fan of Hippocrates, and Hippocrates, who is the founding father of Western medicine, not this bastardized trash modern medicine. His whole thing was do no harm. His whole thing was like food is medicine. His whole thing was like, it's something you're putting in your body, right? So when I started seeing, oh my God, everybody's doing too much. Everybody's throwing everything they can in, and no one's like, yo, less is more. No one's like, yo, give your liver a break. No one's like, guys, this is so simple that it's hard, right? And once you get in my community and see how we're doing it, it's like you could be, and then once I found out, honestly, what really sprung me to start One of Ones is once I found out about vitamin A. And once I read Grant Ginru's book, Poisoning for Profits, and then once I found Dr. Garrett Smith, I was like, I was going to do a Trump job, and I read Poisoning for Profits on the plane, and I got off that plane ride, guys, and I was like, my world will never be the same. I was like, I have to change everything I'm doing, and I have one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle that no one even realizes, that vitamin A isn't really even a vitamin. So in January, I decided to try this. After reading this book, I was convinced. So I said, okay, let me try this diet. Tried it right away, started like leveling up. Right. I had been dealing with some symptoms that a lot of them started after COVID. You know, whether I got COVID or not, I don't know. I never tested positive. When I was at the White House, they would test me every morning, never tested positive. When I came home, I had lost my taste buds, and I had the virus, whatever it was. And when I read this book, and when I had that, I started to get neuropathy on my left side. I started to get a weird sensation in my neck. I started to have my teeth were sensitive. I started to have to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom to pee. And, I'm going to be 40 in August. So I started polling all my friends like, hey, do you have to wake up in the middle of the night to pee? And they'd be like, yeah, and I'm like, well, what do you do? What do you do for that? And they're like, oh, I just wake up to pee and I go back to bed. And I'm like, yeah, that's not acceptable for me. I'm like, this never used to happen to me. Right. And like, they're like, oh, it's just part of aging. And I'm like, no, there's no way. Like, if I live another 50, 40, 60 years, there's no way I'm waking up to pee every night. So going on this low vitamin A diet, a lot of my symptoms started going away right away. And amazing things happened with my strength, with my sleep, with me dreaming more. A huge thing was my mood. We kind of talked about that before we went live, of like, health is the most important niche, because if you're not healthy, you're not wealthy. And if you're not healthy, you're not at a high, vibrant level. You're not smiling. And for me, when I was vitamin A toxic from being a health nut, I had gotten hypervitaminosis A, I was not thriving. And I'll never forget it. I'm reading the Grant and Rue book, and he's showing all these early vitamin A studies of rats. And what they basically proved in these early studies from the early 1900s was a vitamin A toxicity. And one of the 50 symptoms was failure to thrive. And that failure to thrive just jumped right out from the page to me, because that was me. Like, even though it looked like everything I was doing was good, I was failing to thrive, guys. Like, I was forcing myself to go to the gym. I was forcing myself to do the work. I was getting lazy. I was procrastinating. I was low energy. I was irritable. I'll never forget one of my breaking points. I was on a plane and I was flying so much that, like, when the plane lands, people always want to cut the line, and they want to, like, if you're sitting there and like, proper etiquette on the plane is you're supposed to wait till the row in front of you goes, right?
Yeah.
So I was flying so much, guys, that like every other flight, someone was trying to cut me on the line. And I would freak out sometimes, and I would put my hand to block them. And I was getting into like fights on planes with people of just like, and then I would go up to the pilot and the flight attendant, and I'd be like, don't these people know the etiquette? And they'd be like, yeah, they're supposed to, but no one does. And I got into like an argument with a lady, and I'm like, and I almost got into a fight with two guys. And then like the third or final time, like I got into a bad argument with a lady, and she was like, she said something to me like, you look like you're jaundiced. And I was like, huh. And I'm driving back to the hotel, and I'm like, I look like I'm jaundiced. And then when I started doing all this research on vitamin A, one of the things is like yellow skin or orange skin or yellow eyes or yellow nails or yellow teeth. And I was like, something in that argument with that lady, she hit a point on me where I was like, why would she have said that out of nowhere unless I was kind of looking yellow that day?
Yeah, it's a real weird insult.
Yeah.
You look jaundiced. Okay.
Yeah, she said, you look, and then she said something else, like, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm a healthy guy. This random lady I just argued with kind of like hit me where like she didn't even realize it could hurt me. Yeah. So 3 months into the low vitamin A diet, I had spending an hour or two a day researching this, because you're taking a huge leap of faith, and you're going way beyond the pale of this thing is supposed to be an essential nutrient that like you're going to go blind without, right? That's what the first page of Google will tell you. So it's scary to go out into that unknown. 3 months in, 1,000 hours of research in, I'm like, okay. And then seeing all the other case studies from Dr. Garrett Smith's community, from Grant Ginru's forum. Grant Ginru had been on this diet 9 years. He's in his 60s. His gray hair reversed. He's benching 250 pounds. I'm like, I'm sold. I feel great. I've done the research. I'm like, let me scale this to my people too, because this is another thing in this health space. It's like when you're provided with new information, it's very hard. Like, I'll give you an example. Guys who are selling liver pills do not want to know about this information, right? And if they know about this information, they have to stop making money on their business. Where me, I'm like, I'm dealing with real human beings. And now that I know this information, I have to be like, yo, guys, I got something wrong. And like, there's new information. And like, I tried it out for 3 months. There's people who've been doing it 9 years. I'm going to provide you guys with all the data and all the resources I had. And like, if you want to ride this train with me, it's a great train. If not, I totally understand. But like, this is a huge, huge thing. This might be one of the biggest lies we were told, whether it was accidental or not. And just very simple, it's a fat-soluble molecule that historically we were not consuming in this amount. It's become an unreasonable amount, where I'll give you a prime example. I had a guy who's getting a lot, he was not doing well. He's doing a lot better now. He was taking 2,000 to 3,000% of the RDA of vitamin A day, accidentally. No idea. His weight gainer had 2,000% of the RDA. Wow. Then he was taking a fish oil. We had anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 IUs. Then he was doing raw dairy. Then he was taking a multivitamin. And then he was trying to get his carrots, sweet potatoes, spinach. So he's trying to do the right thing. He's trying to be the health nut that I was being too. Doesn't even realize that he's slowly poisoning himself to death with what we used to know was, all doctors used to say, hey guys, watch out for this thing. It's fat soluble, which means it accumulates in the body. For some reason now, a lot of people are like, yo, this makes sense. Some people are like, nah. Like Paul Saladino, I went back and forth on an exchange with him on X, and his final statement before he kind of went ghost was like, all right, well, people should just take 2 ounces once a week. And I'm like, well, you just admitted this thing is toxic, right? Imagine telling someone, steak, only eat 2 ounces of steak once a week, because if you eat more than that, you could be in trouble. You could eat all the steak you want. Yeah. You could eat 2 or 3 or 4 pounds of steak a day. You're not going to be in trouble. You're actually just going to be thriving, right? So yeah, I know that was a little bit of a rant of why I started One of Ones, and there's still, like, every day someone gets me mad to the point where it's like, this is why I started this. People are lost. People are sick. People need help. People need answers. We're just a community of like-minded people who are doing the core principles and like, hey, I got better. This is how I did it. I'm going to help you get better. I'm not going to sell you 50 to 100 different supplements. There's like 3 to 5 supplements that it's like, if you want to take these and we're testing your hair and testing your blood, you can take these, right? If you don't want to test your blood, take them at this very low level, right? As opposed to your average health guru is like, take this, take that, take this other one, do this one. And it's just a freaking guessing game of blind leading the blind. And then when people come back like, yo, I don't feel good on this, it's like, you're probably doing something wrong. It's like, no, man, if you don't feel good on something like that, you probably have a way different toxic load and your liver's probably burdened way different than that person. So for me to tell, someone in my community is like, hey, I see you posting about beans and like, I don't do good on beans. I'm like, all right, don't do them yet. Don't do them yet. let's get you to the place. Let's find another soluble fiber for you, because that's key to detox. And everyone loves detox. But the irony, this was another thing that prompted me. The irony of these detox conversations is twofold. One, do a week cleanse, do a 30-day cleanse. It's like, you can't detox the liver of years of accumulation in a week cleanse. And then the other thing is, take this for detox. When you look into what this is doing, it's usually shutting down the detox pathway and just hiding those toxins further away into the liver or system. And that's when you really start to get into it. Modern medicine, big pharma, and alternative medicine, they're two arms of the same beast, right? So alternative medicine needs people sick too. And that doesn't mean your average practitioner is in on it. That doesn't mean your practitioner doesn't know, like your alternative medicine person, they mean well, but the way they're taught is to mask symptoms. So what we're doing is like, it's almost like psychology. It's like, would you be taking your problems and just putting them deeper inside? Yeah, you're not going to feel them, but one day it's just going to blow up, right? And that's why this conversation gets super confusing and gray area and convoluted, because you got a lot of young guys or girls who are like, this is stupid. That's not me. Meanwhile, they don't know that they just keep pushing it deeper and deeper inside, waiting for a rainy day. And then when the symptoms do start to pop up, the last thing they're going to think of is these healthy things that they were doing. The last thing they're going to think of is the vitamin right in their cabinet, so and I don't know if it's done on purpose. I don't know if it's a lot of useful idiots. To me, it doesn't really matter. The point is, it's a genius mechanism of, okay, if you're healthy, we're not making money off you. If you're dead, we're not making money off you. But if you're somewhere in between and just slowly sick, you're just slowly sick your whole life, that's how we can cash in. That's how we can keep this money train going. That's how we can make you a customer. And one of the ways I like to frame this for people is like, if you look around the room and you can't tell who the mark is you. So is Starbucks looking at you as a customer? Is Big Pharma looking at you as a customer? Is the alternative medicine guy looking at you as a customer? Is the nootropic company? Is the liver company? You are a customer, right? And growing up in New York, spending a lot of my childhood in the streets of New York City, even like the guys in Harlem are like, yo, everything is a scam until it isn't. Everything is a scam, and you need to be super, super cognizant and aware that like people are selling you wolf tickets. People are trying to get over on you. So I was always the rebel and the outlier of like, when people started doing something too much, I'm like, that's whack. Let's find out why that's, everyone's taking liver now. I tried that 10 years ago. It caused me a problem. Let's find out why that's wrong. Then you look into why it's wrong and you're like, oh my God, let's start to help people.
Everything in moderation, including moderation.
And your brain, after a while, you got to put the phone down.
Yeah.
People keep picking up the phone. What's the answer to this? What's the answer to that? I need help for this. It's like that's why in one of ones, it's health, wealth, and relationship advice, love. But step one is get your health right. And then we get you into cruise control where you put that phone down, you know what to do. And we don't really have to, even though it's taking up to 3 years for people to get vitamin A levels down. And even though when you first go on a low vitamin A diet, your serum levels go up, right? We're seeing people's serum levels go up on blood tests. And it's a clear indicator that the liver is just dumping it. So once we get you healthy, it's like, all right, let's start getting wealthy. Let's start getting into a healthy relationship. And you could kind of put that phone down and stop being, at least I was, a lot of people are, it's like, what's the new supplement? What's the new diet? What's the new, and it's like, you don't have to go crazy like that anymore.
Yeah. That could be a whole 2-hour episode, but of like the search for optimal health, is a fascinating one, because on one hand, we never want to be satisfied, which is good and bad, which I think that's what you're summarizing, Thor. It's kind of like, hey, once you get to a great routine, you're healthy, you get your levels right. We're always tempted by the next thing. And am I optimizing to live to 126? Or am I just optimized to live towards 85? Like everybody, like it's that constant chase. It's kind of like capital. I believe in capitalism, but capitalism for your own body doesn't necessarily make sense.
I say do business like a capitalist, but eat like a communist.
It's true.
And it's like a joke, but it's also like, okay, be a conscious capitalist, and then historically look at there's a really good book called Mind Body Code by Dr. Mario Martinez, and he studies centenarians, and there's a few common things in centenarians, and you could even take a few gems from the book Blue Zones. One of them is a great sense of humor, right? Not taking things too seriously, not getting bent out of shape over petty nonsense. Another one is being an outlier of and this is a big thing that would get me on Twitter that kind of prompted me to do one-on-ones too, is I saw a lot of guys my age on Twitter or whatever talking about you're too old to be doing that. Oh, you got to stop deadlifting, or you shouldn't be sprinting, or you're too old to be doing box jumps. And it's like, man, speak for yourself, right? Don't put a limit. I try to sprint once a week because I know, A, I've seen that 80-year-old guy running sprints still. And B, if I keep doing it, I won't lose it. If I keep making it a normal thing, if I keep jumping as high as I can jump, it's going to be better than 10. We got guys, girls in their mid-30s, they haven't jumped or ran in over 10 years. So, of course, if you try to just do it out of nowhere, you're going to hurt yourself. My whole thing is keep doing that. And then another thing with centenarians, to touch on your point, and the Mind Body Code book is not caring as much, not obsessing as much. There's guys who had their cup of whiskey a day and their cigar a day, and it became this reward and ritual, but they never went past one cup. Or if they did, it was once in a while. And what I like to say to a lot of people is you don't abuse what you love, right? You don't abuse what you love. If you like to have a drink once a week, twice a week, cool. If you're having multiple drinks every day and your life is destroyed, you're cutting yourself with a knife. You're self-inflicting wounds. And then another thing with the centenarians too was how many times do you see it? They're like, he ate a hamburger every day, had a cigar and a black coffee. And everyone's like, oh man, his diet was trash. And I look at it that guy was just a simple, boring guy who did the same freaking thing every day. And he accidentally wasn't poisoning himself with all these plants, supplements, and other weird shit, And he was that stubborn old man who was outside in the sun, and just read a remarkable study about cigarette smokers and vitamin A, and the cigarette smokers they gave beta carotene to got lung cancer so fast they had to stop the study.
Wow.
And that the cigarette smokers who were on a normal low vitamin A diet of the guy who's eating the hamburger a day weren't getting cancer anywhere near. And I'm like, well, that makes total sense, because how many times do you hear, oh, he smoked this cigarettes till he was 100 and he was fine. And then you hear of another person who they didn't even smoke and they get lung cancer. They were just around the smoke.
Yeah.
And that might have been the health nut. That might have been the person taking all the supplements and doing all the vegetables. And then you look into, vegetables, most of them are only new in the past 3,000 years. They're hybrids from the mustard plant or the wild cabbage plant. So they were altered by man. Man took this wild plant that if you saw in nature, you would walk over, and created these broccolis and these broccolinis and this broccoli rabe and all these other these vegetables that we've been tricked into. The carrot, the orange carrot, the original carrot was white. The original carrot had no vitamin A in it. What happened is the Dutch and the French, in honor of the Dutch king, they made the carrot orange, And then they realized that the orange carrot sold more than the white carrot, because of course it did. It's a colorful thing, right? Just like your orange background is going to attract that flame, that fire, that attraction, whereas no one wants to eat a white carrot. You know, and what are we tricked into thinking? Oh, the one with the white one is not healthy, no color. When really the color is a carotenoid that builds up in your liver and causes carotenemia and actually makes you sick. It's like up is down is up. And with a lot of guys who I work with and talk to, especially older school guys, I start talking about why vegetables and vitamins are bad for you. And they're like, yeah, man, that makes total sense. I hate these things. And because a lot of people's intuition was right on it, right? How many guys where their wife has to force them to take the vitamin or eat the vegetable?
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people just knew. Same thing with liver. It's like most people do not like the taste of liver. When I was eating liver, was like convincing myself that it was okay because of all the health benefits. And then they went ahead and put it in a powdered capsule so you can't even taste it.
Oh.
You're supposed to be able to taste it. You know, you're supposed to be able to, there's a lot of signs in nature. And if something tastes like a freaking battery, it's probably not good for you, you know?
Right.
Chris, any final questions or thoughts with Thor here?
Yeah. And it's funny because I've been following you for a while, and I still need to do the research because I have D3 vitamin on my counter, you know, vitamin K and D3, beef liver supplements, and all newer stuff, right? Because some fucker on Instagram told me it was great, filled with minerals and nutrients.
Yeah.
You said in your one-on-ones, you guys have like 3 to 5 supplements maybe people would take. What would those be? Like what are those? And then tell me how to avoid vitamin A.
Yeah, so great questions. So right away, most people, everyone, I tell to take magnesium chloride, topical. So topical magnesium chloride is a very safe one. Really, we're only seeing the levels rise on a blood or hair test, which blood tests are many times do not show the picture because your body will just keep your blood good and it'll look good on the surface, but you don't know what's going on everywhere else. Right away, people feel amazing on magnesium chloride. So you can do that in a bath with 1 cup in a bath 2 or 3 times a week. You can get the magnesium oil, the spray. You could spray it on your sides, your chest, your neck, your quads, rub it in. Some people don't like the feeling of that, so you can do that 30 minutes before a shower and then wipe it off. I like to use it as deodorant. I actually make my own magnesium chloride. And then Dr. Garrett Smith, nutrition detective, he has an amazing magnesium lotion, which people are, and compliance is the science. So it's like, how can I get people to do this consistently? The lotion is a big one that people are very, okay, let me put the lotion on my stomach, got my 500 milligrams, good to go. Within days, people are feeling amazing. Then another key thing I have people look at is potassium, because especially if you're training and you're a guy, I like to have my guys around on 4,000 to 4,700 milligrams of potassium a day, but majority of that through food. So it's really becoming conscious of your potassium intake. To get 4,700 milligrams of potassium, that's around 11 to 12 bananas. Just to give you an idea of what your daily potassium. Majority of people are not eating 11 bananas a day, if not even 1. So another area to go for is coconut water. And then I have a list of different potassiums, like potassium citrate, potassium gluconate, potassium carbonate, potassium chloride, where I'll have some people do a 50-50 salt, sodium chloride and potassium chloride. You can start putting that on your food. You can put that in your pre or post workout drink. And right away, people, what are 2 symptoms of potassium deficiency? Getting tired after you eat and cramping. So if you're getting muscle cramps, I had a guy who was a runner and he was like, man, I can't run. He was trying to be the guy who runs every day. He was trying to be the marathon guy. And I was like, dude, what's your potassium intake? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, all right, we're about to have you running every day again. Got his potassium right? And he's like, dude, I can't thank you enough. little stuff like that. Vitamin A also, we'll get to this after the rest of the vitamin A also leaches potassium from the body. The thing is a real antagonist to essentials. And then zinc is a huge one. Zinc piclionate, which is the form that works the best. I like to do zinc and the magnesium before bed, as long as I'm not too empty stomach. And it's kind of like the ZMA that guys liked without the B6. But zinc, people are massively deficient in zinc, and a lot of people are toxic in copper. And copper is an antagonist to zinc. So you get people on, and which food has the most zinc content, bioavailable zinc, is red meat.
Steak.
So what food are they trying to villainize the most?
Steak.
Red meat.
Yeah.
What raises testosterone the most is zinc. If you're zinc deficient, which a lot of guys are, your testosterone's in the shitter. So getting guys on zinc right away can do wonders. Don't overdo it. If you're not testing or working with someone one-on-one, I do one-on-one coaching as well. Stick to under 30 milligrams a day. So you could split that into 15 milligrams twice with meals or once. Also be aware that zinc can cause a copper detox. So if you grew up in a home with copper pipes, if you were addicted to chocolate and coffee and oysters and other copper-rich food, getting that zinc in at first might cause you to feel like crap, right? And this is important information because you can take that zinc, feel like crap, and then you can say, hey, I never want to take that again. That's bad for me. It wasn't bad for you. It was detoxing you of what you were. This is why this is so tricky, because people will take one thing that's bad for them. It'll mask their symptoms. They'll have a honeymoon period. They'll think it's a good thing. And then on the other coin, people will take something that's helping them get rid of these toxins. It'll make them feel crappy, and they'll go away from it. That's why it's so key to know how these systems work, what your levels are. Day one working with me, we see your levels. We start putting you on some of these essential minerals. Day 30, we check in. Okay, that's going the right way. Day 60, okay, great. You gotta mix the symptoms with the blood, with the hair. It's a whole encompassing practice where most doctors will look at you for 10 minutes, roll their eyes when you tell them something, give you a prescription, and you're out the door, right? That's why that's another reason I started this, is because so many people are just having red pill moments with modern medicine where they just throw their hands up in the air, and they're just like, oh, put you on TRT, or oh, put you on thyroid meds, or oh, put you on the worst acne medication. Guys listening, I'm so glad I remember this. If you're listening out there and you have children, do not put them on Accutane. Do not put them on Retin-A. That stuff is literal poison. It's high-dose vitamin A. It's 13-cis-retinoic acid. It causes low libido. It causes suicidal thoughts. It causes thinning hair. It causes joint pain. It causes depression. It causes skin problems down the road. So, and that all forms of vitamin A that you put in your body turn to some 13-cis-retinoic acid. Two others are selenium and molybdenum. And then fiber, whether you're getting your fiber from beans or psyllium husk or organic oats or organic apples. So the thing with fiber, and you look at the oldest family in the world, the Malise family in Sicily, I think they're 851 combined age, 3 bean soup every day. And this was another thing that got me pissed, is you see guys like Asprey and biohackers and these other guys come on and say beans are peasant food or oats are peasant food. Beans and oats are very villainized in the health niche right now because people have gotten themselves so cornered into a hole, their digestive tract is so rocked that they cannot tolerate beans or oats anymore. So what do? They find a reason to villainize it. They find a reason to tell you why it's bad. And what I'm seeing is people's soluble fiber levels in their diet have never been so low. Why soluble fiber is so important? Soluble fiber marries the fat-soluble toxin and then takes it out of your liver and your bile duct and your gallbladder, puts it into your intestine, where it then goes into your colon and into the toilet bowl where it belongs. And if you don't have soluble fiber, you are not getting that toxic bile, those poisons, out of your body, and they're just recirculating. The cycle of your liver and your gallbladder and bile duct, 95% of that gets recycled 20 to 70 times a day. So what I have a lot of people doing is, hey, intercept that cycle with soluble fiber. You know, and then you look at a lot of these, you look where the winners were. Latin America, rice and beans at every meal. Kenya has one of the most naturally low vitamin A diets. They also have the most gold Olympians, rice and beans every meal. You look at the hunter-gatherers, supposedly 50 grams of soluble fiber a day is what they were doing. So you get people start pooping consistently with that soluble fiber, and you start to see a lot of success. And then to tie a knot around this with your final question about why is vitamin A bad for you? So vitamin A is retinol. It is an alcohol. It is metabolized in the liver the same way tequila and vodka is. Through the ADH, the dehydrogenase pathway, the aldehyde dehydrogenase pathway, same way. And then it gets split. Beta carotene. So all vitamin A comes from plants, beta carotene. That's step one. Animals eat plants, and then when you eat the animal, you're getting it from. So there's no way to avoid vitamin A. It's in everything. And if you were to go on a no vitamin A diet, that would be bad for you too, right? You'd be eating white rice only. The whole point is to lower it, because the reason it's bad for you is because it's a fat-soluble toxin that accumulates in your liver. And once your liver has reached a saturation point, picture like a huge bucket in your backyard and it's raining and it's filled with water to the top. Any little drop is going to make that bucket overflow. Okay, that's your liver, and it's just a math equation of, are you putting in more than you're able to get rid of, right? So people are putting in more than they're able to get rid of, and once you've reached your quota on this fat-soluble thing that accumulates, it starts to spill out into any and every epithelial tissue. So that's eczema, that's psoriasis, that's joint pain. Asthma is a disease of the epithelial tissue of the lungs. Diabetes is an epithelial tissue of the pancreas. Cirrhosis is the epithelial tissue of the liver. Alzheimer's is epithelial of the brain. Multiple sclerosis is epithelial tissue of the myelin sheath wrapping around the nerves. The number one killer in the world, heart disease, or in the West, in North America, is epithelial tissue of the heart. So these are really epithelial tissue diseases that are given all different types of names, which confuses people. And really, it's not a disease, it's a poisoning. And it's that simple, guys. And it's retinoic acid, which is the same thing in a yellow peel, a chemical peel, which is what women put on their face to make their skin look better. Well, why does it make their skin look better? It literally evaporates and vaporizes a layer of their skin, right? So they get a yellow peel, same color vitamin A. They get a chemical peel. Their face looks new. If they go back for rounds 3, 4, and 5, they get severely injured, right? Because there's only so many layers you can peel with that chemical. Vitamin A is the same concept. So once you become conscious of it, once you start accounting for it, you don't have to go crazy like me. I'm telling you, everyone, in my opinion, this thing is not a vitamin. It's only bad for you. Okay, maybe you don't want to go that crazy. Just know that this thing is a fat-soluble toxin that you should be accounting for. What do I mean by accounting? Go into your supplement cabinet day one. Your most multivitamins have 150 to 200% RDA. So right away with a multi, you've already gone past what you're supposed to be getting, okay? You make that a habit, that's going to build up. Let's go a step further. Now you're eating the Eat the Rainbow diet. Now what are you at? 300, 400 RDA? I don't know. Okay, now you're eating dairy and eggs. Now you're even higher. Oh, God forbid you start taking liver or fish oil. Now you're going even higher. So you see how this can get out of whack really fast for people. And you see how at first someone might be like, oh, I'm doing good. And then in 5 years, they're like, what is going on? I have autoimmune disease and I don't know why. And the doctors are not going to be like, yo, it's this fat-soluble toxin that we've known about for years. They're going to be like, it's just bad luck, genetics. We don't know why. Take this drug that shuts down your immune system. So you got to be your own doctor. You got to be your own health accountant. And you got to start accounting for what you're putting in your body and doing your liver. Not to mention, I didn't even bring it up, all the quote unquote medicines and even herbal ones that are shutting down your ADH and ALDH detox pathway, which is the very detox pathway that helps you get rid of the toxic vitamin A. So this is why I say death by 1,000 cuts, because when you do the research, not only are people taking in too much, they're also doing things to shut down that detox system. And now what do we have? The highest rates of autoimmune disease that the world has ever seen. We have children getting rheumatoid arthritis. We have children who have eczema and psoriasis. We have 1 out of 3 people with an autoimmune disease. And people say, oh, well, our life expectancy is high. But at what cost? People are suffering. Mm-hmm. People aren't living good lives. You know, everyone medicated and fat and sick and angry. And when you clean up the liver, the best thing is you become high energy, you become happy, your liver is smiling, and you become a more productive human, which helps society's bottom line, right? Mm-hmm. There's going to come a point where this health crisis, and it already is costing us a lot of money, right? So on one hand, they're making a lot of money off of us, Big Pharma, but at what point do the legs from the table crash out and just people are just, you know, and that could be an AI conversation, a totally other conversation, but it's time to wake up, guys. It's time to get back to basics. It's time to learn the human body and anatomy. And it's like, you take care of your liver. Aging is not wear and tear. Aging is not, this or that. Aging is how much are you poisoning yourself? Aging is poisoning. And this is why you have people in your 20s who have joint pain and thinning hair, and you have people in your 70s who have none of these problems. Whether they know it or not, some people just poison themselves faster than others. And once you become conscious of the poisoning, it's a wrap, guys. Like once you figure that out and how to get that out, this is the secret that should never be a secret. And it's so easy. It's so simple. And we just have to give it to people in a very digestible bites like this where they can wrap their head around it.
Pun intended. So, Thor, it's been great, brother. Where can everybody sign up for what you got going on, learn more about you, keep up with you, message you, all that stuff?
Yeah, you can go to Thor Torrens.com, ThorTorrens.com, and at Thor Torrens on X and Instagram and YouTube. And right on ThorTorrens.com, you have the school link, sign up for one-on-ones, and then I also have the one-on-one coaching. And then I'm working on a book to come out, and then I'm going to be on a few other big podcasts this summer, and we're just going to keep growing it, keep spreading the knowledge. If you want to be part of a community of like-minded people helping each other out and just leveling up in all aspects of life, you know, we're tribal people by nature, and the world's never been this crowded, but people feeling this alone, you know, so it's very important to build community and have, you know, a good support group. Like, hey, there's people who are doing this by themselves. I'm getting DMs every day of people who aren't even in one-on-ones like, yo, I followed your advice and I feel amazing. And then there's people who want to be part of a group where you get held accountable, you track your progress. So we got something for everything. And then there's people who it's like, hey, they want to sit in first class. They want us to hold their hand more. We got that too. You know how it is, guys.
Yeah. It's awesome, man. It's been a master class in medicine and nutrition and a lot of stuff. We really appreciate your time, Thor, and can't wait to stay watching what you're doing and, you know, seeing how we can help one another.
Cool, man. Appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks so much.
Hey, guys, you know where to find us, vibescience.media. We have all the articles. They have lots of thought-provoking insights from guys like Thor. We'll have all the highlight clips from his episode. You can find Chris and I on Instagram at Chris Hanson. I'm at Ryan Alford. We'll see you next time on Vibe Science. The content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.